Hi, I'm Caitlin V. I am a sex and relationship coach, the host of Good Sex on HBO Max, and the host of a YouTube channel with 900,000 subscribers. For the last 10 years, I've been really focusing on helping people build confidence in the bedroom, and my specialty is helping men to overcome premature ejaculation and performance anxiety. I also have an upcoming book, Harder, Better, Longer, Stronger, which is my methodology for helping men to overcome all of their penis problems and performance challenges by thinking about their well being and sexual performance holistically. A lot of folks stop at the urologist office or with Viagra. And what I have learned over the last 10 years is that just like women's sexuality, men's sexuality is the process of not just the physical body, but our emotional, mental, spiritual bodies, our relationships, our culture. And so the book really is a holistic perspective on helping men to really uncover the actual causes of the challenges that they are facing in bed and offer them real solutions to address those. And that will be out in January.
Oh, so fun. I love all of that. And it sounds like incredible work. Also, book club wise, we're starting one January book. That would be
Absolutely.
fantastic to dive
Yes.
into.
Oh, yeah.
So,
So if you love men or have relationships with men, I think just like if you read Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski,
mhm,
like I've met so many men who read that and were like, I understand women so much better now and what a
mhm,
gift that was. My goal was to make the version of that for men to understand
mhm.
themselves and also for women to like really
Yeah.
get what's going on for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
would love to love men again a little bit more.
that's what I was just
So,
going to say. Yeah, I think a
yeah.
lot of us in this community are working through not hating men anymore.
Mhm.
And so we've actually been having those conversations pretty frequently recently,
Yeah.
which has been
Recently,
really
it's really
interesting for
interesting.
us. But yeah, like Emma and I were just talking this weekend about the way that we shame like little boys into not having emotions and how awful that
Mm-hmm.
is. And then they grow up into the kind of men that we hate.
Hate to date. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love the idea of, doing the work to make the world filled with the kind of men we want and feel safe to be around.
Literally what my YouTube channel is all about.
Mhm.
Fucking love it. Amazing. Well, we're also really excited to chat with you today about sexual confidence. So, can we start there with a little bit about what that means? Is it how we feel in bed or how we are in bed? Like, what is
Mm.
sexual confidence?
I love the distinction between doing and being there because I
Mhm,
think confidence is a combination of both, like being confident and doing confidence.
mhm,
And for most of us, we have the perception that we need to be confident before we can act confidently.
mhm,
But the truth is that most confidence comes from actual competence. Confidence comes from being afraid and doing the thing anyway, within reason, not like blowing out our nervous system or going
Mhm.
so far beyond our comfort zone that we can't come back. But doing the things that we maybe aren't that competent at and we are maybe a little fearful that we're going to get wrong repeatedly until we know that we can do them and we can do them
mhm,
safely and consistently. And then confidence comes as a result of that. And then we have more confidence and then we can go back and do more things to gain more confidence.
mhm,
I think, oh, what is it? The Dunning something curve, Dunning Kruger curve, or something like that. That when we start something, we're not competent at it, but we don't know that we're not competent. So we're very confident,
Mm.
right? We have like kind of the beginner's
mm,
luck, or like, oh my God, I'm so good at this. And then
Mhm.
we become aware of how incompetent we are. And then our confidence falls.
Mhm.
Right. And since,
mhm,
so many of us are on a journey of understanding our own sexuality, maybe we came out the gate and we were like, this is easy. I got this. I'll figure it out. I'll have a couple of shots of tequila and I'm good. And then over time, we realize, like, oh, I'm actually not competent
Mhm.
at these things. My body doesn't, maybe the relationship that I have with my body isn't the one that I want, or the relationship that I have with my lovers isn't how I want them to be, or we're not getting the results that we want, or we're not having the sex that we want. And then our confidence falls because we have new awareness of the things that aren't working or that we're that are not being reflected in our sexual
Mhm.
relationships. And then it takes time through that process that I named before of doing it anyway to rebuild our confidence and our competence. And then those two things generally track like linearly. The more
Okay.
competent we are, the more confident that we feel.
mhm. Wow. Sorry, Kat, you can go ahead if you want.
If you go ahead.
No, it just completely reframed, I feel like so many things that like I'm thinking even beginning our relationships where we feel
Mhm.
super confident and we feel great and then we hit either challenges or like whatever comes up in life, and it's a new learning curve, but then we lose our confidence because we're trying that for the first time and it's new and we didn't do it super well. And then we have to rebuild our confidence and you feel like you're failing, but really it's just, that's how you build it.
Totally. I think I like to talk about in terms of alpha and beta bias, which is an idea that I learned about as a researcher, which is basically the idea that two things are very similar, more similar than they actually are, or two things are very different, more different than they are. And I usually talk about this in terms of men and women, because we want to have a conversation around the difference between cis men and cis women that honors that they are different and honors that they are the same, right? And we have to be constantly threading the needle between those two and like really asking ourselves, is this my bias that we're so different that we can't be compared, or is this my bias that we should all really be the same even though we have different experiences? And the best example that I can give of this is when they developed new pharmaceuticals and they used to just say, well, women are small men, right? So we tested this on men that weigh 150 pounds, women weigh 120, whatever, like just decrease the dose a little bit, and then it would literally like kill women, right? Or on the other hand, when people are like, women are so different, we can't even test this drug on them, it will never work, right? So when we have these conversations about men and women, but also when we have these conversations like with ourself and sexuality, sex is similar to a lot of other things. Like I really struggle with, I don't have a great relationship with food, which is not to say that I have like an eating disorder. I just hate the fact that I have to eat. Like I just find it to be very inconvenient. I don't get a lot of thrill out of it. If you take me out to a nice meal, like I will eat the nice meal and appreciate that it was a nice meal, but I don't like fantasize about spending a lot of money on food. I'm like, well, I'm going to eat that and then it will be shit later. Like I don't just, it just doesn't connect with me. Right. And so I don't really love cooking. But I do love feeding people in my life. I love hosting people. I love making sure that the ones that I love are nourished. I do like feeling well and like making sure that I'm taking care of myself by eating well. And so I've had to develop skills around food because it didn't come naturally to me, right? I don't make myself wrong or shameful for that, right? I don't like feel shame by buying a cookbook. I'm not like, I wish that I could just close the doors and then food would just happen, right? But we do that with sex, right? We make ourselves wrong for having to build our competence with sex. We're like, sex is so different than everything else. The same rules don't apply to sex as apply to, say, something like cooking. And yeah, sure, sex is different than cooking for sure. It comes with different risks. It comes with different vulnerabilities. It's something that maybe we don't invite all of our friends over to do every single week together. Some of us do, but not all of us.
Not all of us.
Not all of us. But they're not so different either. And I like to think about sex in terms of like, you can build skills around it. It is not the giant mystery that we were all brought up to believe that it is. Yeah, it's special. Yeah, it's magical. Yeah, we should treat it with reverence. But it's not like the way that the puritanical hegemonic culture would have us believe that it is like so different than anything else, that we have to approach it in like a completely different way. And that way has to be kind of shrouded in secrecy. And if you don't do it right out the gate, or it doesn't work well with this person that you love, that there's something deeply wrong with you. And it's not that different.
I love that reframe. And it is very difficult to do things that you don't feel confident in. It is very difficult to do things that feel hard or scary or vulnerable. So can you give us some of like the benefits of building sexual confidence so we have a why when we're doing these things? Because I think a lot of us are willing to settle for subpar or like not feeling very confident, not getting what we want because it is significantly easier. It sucks more, but it is easier.
It is easier to not build competence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Okay, so reasons to build your sexual confidence. For me, sex is a birthright. I think it's one of the easiest, most effective ways to experience pleasure, to feel connected, to feel at home in our bodies, to like have a great romantic relationship if sex is a part of that. I think that we ask sex to do way too much for us, right? We ask sex to take on like all of eroticism. And beyond that, we take like penetration really as sex, right? And we're like, that has got to hold all of this stuff. It's got to be my connection to pleasure. It's got to be my connection to my partner. It's got to be the thing that, allows me to feel confident and virile and powerful and all that. And that's asking too much of sex itself, right? But when I think about what it looks like to feel sexually confident, that to me is way broader. That's like knowing that this thing that my DNA was built to do, Because really, what is our DNA built to do other than replicate itself, right? I mean, that's the reason that we eat and breathe and make it through puberty. Like, that's it. DNA is just using us to remix with other people and get to the, get to its end result, which is more of itself, right? We're just along for the ride. And I think that because it is so base to our existence, and that's not to say that you should procreate. That's not to say that you need to feel compelled to even have sex. You don't need to enjoy sex. Sex doesn't need to be something that you do. But for many of us, it is written in our genetic code that our lives should include this thing. And just like food, if we don't feel confident at kind of that thing as a broad category, because it is so base to who we are and it is so potent in terms of our connection to pleasure and life force energy. If it's missing, it's really hard to even know what is missing about it, right? It's like if you've never had a good relationship to something, how do you know what it feels like when you do have one, right? For the most part, healing doesn't feel awesome. It makes us feel neutral. If you think about like the last time that you had a serious pain or injury, I slammed my finger into a door yesterday. So I am thinking about it a lot today. But tomorrow, when it has healed, I will not be thinking about it anymore, right? I'll just be back to neutral. And when sex hurts, when it's not working for us, it's a little bit like a slammed finger, right? It's a little bit like, this thing that I'm kind of focused on because it sucks and it's draining some of my energy. But when it works, we don't think about it all the time. Actually, that's the cool thing about it is we don't think about it. I don't have to think about my pointer finger all the time. That would take up so much of my energy. And at the same time, when it feels good, I'm not going to be like, hooray, for much, maybe a day. I'll be like, yes, finally I can push down on my fucking hairspray again. But in the meantime, I'm not going to think about it again. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yes.
it does.
It's just base. It's just base and it will give you additional energy back. And it will also return you to something that feels kind of baseline and neutral. And that's a good thing.
Yeah. It reminds me of how Cass and I were at the beginning of this podcast and just watching us evolve more, because our podcast questions started out with the smallest of nitty gritty questions about every insecurity that comes up with certain situations, whether it's in relationships, friendships, sex. And now, as much as I love those questions still, we have been able to get more broad and like address the topic from a bigger viewpoint. And I think that comes from confidence around like talking about sex, about being a human being, about allowing sex to be messy and awkward and quirky and like having confidence with that. And so that's how I'm like relating this to the confidence I've built through the podcast. It's like there is so much more ease with our conversations and sharing on this podcast and connecting to people because of the confidence that comes from knowing that sex is messy. And I think that's beautiful. And I totally get the feeling of ease that you're saying.
Yeah, I would say in the beginning, we had trouble saying certain things. Like we would get beat red or, fumble over our words. And now I can say he fucked me in the ass and I'm not going to get red or like uncomfortable. It sounds like any other sentence to me. And while I have to recognize that in public, that isn't the same for everybody else. And that Emma and I, when we are talking, sometimes need to hush our voices more than we do for respect of society. It just, it doesn't bring up any feelings in my body anymore the way that it used to, which like I never thought about it that way before that, like neutrality. It's really fucking cool. And it feels very empowering to just be like, it's just words. It's okay.
Just words, just action, just things that adults do.
Exactly.
That's such an important note for me because I've been doing this since I was 15 years old, like 14, 15. I knew that I was going to help people to enjoy sex more in my lifetime. I knew that was my calling. I've never wanted to do anything else. It's been like 20 years of me doing this. And the reason I think that I'm a natural at this is because I never have really felt that squeakiness around the subject. And that made me a very natural, safe space for other people. So I think to your point, by normalizing it and by like going first and having those conversations, you also demonstrate to other people that they can do that too. That's an option for them. We could talk about getting fucked in the ass at LAX at our gate
Mhm.
or whatever. I don't know where you live.
That's true.
But I constantly get in trouble for editing scripts, YouTube, like working on YouTube scripts. I only recently got one of those like privacy screens on my laptop, and I constantly forget it anyways. So if you walk up behind me at the airport, just know it's going to be like squirting and rimming and pegging, and that's your fault